I'm Chris Stevenson, and this is Strange Assembly with the top 5 things you need to know about Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. The most important takeaways that you'll have in deciding whether or not you want to get Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. And spoiler alert, yeah, you totally want to go get a copy of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. The first thing is everybody gets stuff, right? This is like Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Every single class gets new options, but not just new subclasses. Everybody also gets new optional features. It labels them optional features. They're not really optionals. It's little add-ons for all the classes. Everybody who's a spellcaster gets a few old spells that are now added to their spell list. Everybody who makes choices other than subclasses along the way is going to get the option to switch that out. So like switch what your fighting style was, or if you're a spellcaster, switch what your cantrips were. Like do that every 4 levels, so, swap out one of them, let you change it up a little bit. And then there's other ones that are more specific to the classes. The only class that doesn't get that breadth of stuff is the Artificer. They still get a new subclass, but because that wasn't in the core book and it's reprinted its entirety here from Eberron Rising from the Last War, it doesn't get everything, but there's just tons and tons of stuff from everybody. Number 2, the Ranger is revamped. The Ranger is widely, and I believe correctly, considered the weakest character class out of the core book, and they basically get a redo here in Tasha's Guide. Tired of that Natural Explorer class feature that does you mostly nothing? Well, then you'll be happy to replace it with more languages, extra proficiency bonuses on one of your skill, and then at 6th level, you're going to get extra speed, and you're going to be able to use it to not just walk, but also climb and swim. Don't like having to pick a favorite enemy so you can get this basically irrelevant bonus to tracking them? How about instead getting a favored foe so that when you hit someone in combat, you can mark them, and then every single time you hit that character again, you get extra damage? Tired of waiting until 10th level to get the ability to out of combat hide? Well, how about instead getting the ability at 10th level to turn invisible as a bonus action? That enough of an upgrade for you? And they get 2 new archetypes like everybody else. Both of those new archetypes let you add extra damage to your attacks. The Fey Wanderer lets you add psychic damage, and the Swarm Keeper lets you add piercing damage to your first successful hit every single round. The Fey Wanderer can be the group's face. You get additional skill proficiency, and you get to add your wisdom bonus to your charisma checks. It's like a whole new world for Rangers right there. Swarm Keepers can actually use their swarms to fly eventually. It's fantastic. I mean, I don't know where this is going to end up the Ranger in something like an overall power ranking level, but it's so great for Rangers to get this extra content. Thing number 3, Psionics, baby. I just mentioned, right, the Fey Wanderer does psionic damage. I'm honestly not positive what the Fey have to do with psionics, but hey, it's psionic damage. There's a Psi Warrior subclass for the fighter. There's a Soul Knife subclass for the rogue where you can pretend to be Psylocke from the X-Men. The Sorcerer has an Aberrant Mind subclass. Right? Think Mind Flayers. The Monk has an Astral Self. It's sprinkled all over here. There's a new cantrip for your arcane spellcaster types that lets you just fling psionic damage at somebody every single turn. So if you like psionics, that's definitely here for you in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. 4, just really good subclasses. Right? Again, like I said, every single class gets at least 2 subclasses. There's a lot of new concepts. A lot of this is personal. But of course, you're also going to be like, ooh, what seems really good? And there are several in here that, at least to me, stand out as being really strong options. The Warlock, who's already got some pretty potent stuff, gets two new buff subclasses, the Fathomless and the Genie. Both of them, and right, this is, I know, important for the Warlock, both of them have the ability to get a first level area of effect spell. The Genie gives you another way to get Burning Hands and then Fireball. The Fathomless can summon tentacles that then attack as a bonus action every single round. And then at 6th level, they can also react and defend you every single round and do some damage mitigation. You get to have a swim speed. You get to breathe underwater. You get cold resistance. There's a lot to like about the Fathomless. The Genie has a variety of options. You get to add twice as many spells to your options because you get stuff for having a Genie in general, and then you get stuff depending on which kind of Genie you get. And yes, you can add Wish to your list, although, let's face it, you're never actually going to cast that. You also get to carry around your Genie's vessel. Like you can make it a lamp or lantern or whatever it is that you want. And yeah, you can do cute things like go and hide inside your Genie's lamp. But more importantly, your Genie's lamp lets you just do bonus damage on your first successful attack roll every single round. 2 really strong Warlock patrons. Another class that gets a pair of good ones, the Clerics of Peace and the Clerics of Twilight. Those are new domains. The Peace Cleric can get everybody together, sing Kumbaya, and as long as you hang out together, everybody every round gets to add a d4 to one of their rolls. You have an ability that lets you run around the battlefield, not provoking attacks of opportunity and healing people, not just your spells, but like there's built-in healing with this ability. Really good. The Twilight Cleric gets heavy armor proficiency. They get martial weapon proficiency, right? So, I mean, War Cleric does that too. Okay, so this is not brand new, but still very handy to have. Then you get this super long-range dark vision. You can share it with your teammates. You can give an initiative boost to one of the characters in your party, and you can make this sphere that will give temporary hit points every round to just the people you want it to. And you get all of that by second level. At second level, you have access to all of that stuff. Twilight Cleric, very nice. My last seems really good subclass is the one new thing that the Artificer gets, which is the Armorer subclass, right? Your artifact thing that you're creating and bonding with is armor, of course. You're going to want to take the heaviest armor you can because it lets you ignore the strength requirements for armor. It lets you attack with your intelligence, so your intelligence for both attack and damage rolls. So you can dump strength, you can dump dex, you can just load up on intelligence, you can beat people up with your intelligence. You can switch back and forth between what kind of armor you want. Either way, you get a built-in weapon. You can go with the tanky Guardian armor that has a built-in melee weapon that imposes penalties on enemies who don't attack you whenever you hit them. And it can grant you temporary hit points. Or you can go with the Infiltrator armor, which has a built-in ranged weapon. That's only 1d6, except there's 2d6 on the first hit every round. Also, it increases your speed by 5 feet, and probably not super important, but hey, it even negates the disadvantage that you would have gotten from trying to do a stealth check in your super heavy armor. And it matters that that Infiltrator armor only gets the extra d6 of damage on the first attack because this version of the Artificer lets you get that extra attack at 5th level. After the big Ranger revamp, those are my 5 favorite subclasses. The Fathomless and Genie for the Warlocks, the Peace and Twilight domain for Clerics, and the Armorer for Artificers. Number 5, there's a ton of new character options in Tasha's Guide to Everything. There's not a ton else that's new. There are some new spells. A lot of the higher level spells are just variations on summons. It includes rules for group patrons, but those are just a reprint from Eberron Rising from the Lost War. The magic items, it's cool in that there's artifacts that relate to Tasha, but one, you probably don't know who Tasha is, except that she has uncontrollable hideous laughter, or at least she can make you laugh hideously and uncontrollably. And while artifacts can be flavorful, they don't really come up and play that much. So if you haven't yet learned about Session Zeros, hey, those are mentioned in a D&D book now. But still, you're here for lots and lots of new character class options. The other stuff, not as much. All right, so there's our top 5 things that you want to know about Tasha's. If you want to hear more, stay around, and we'll soon be releasing a longer, in-depth review of the book and all of these new character options. But in the meantime, if you liked this, you can click a button below that says that or subscribe. Thanks.